Welcome to the realm of magic and mystery, classic horror and sci-fi. You are now entering the House of the Unusual podcast with your hosts, Eddie and Joe. Welcome all you cool ghouls and friendly fiends to the House of the Unusual podcast. I'm your host, Joe Pavlansky, and with me as always is the maestro of mail order mysteries, Eddie Guevara. What's up, Eddie?
How are you, Joe? How you doing out there, buddy?
Hanging in there, man. So it's just us two today holding down the fort. We had some magic stuff to do. They disappeared and never returned. So hopefully they'll be back next week for our show. So we wish them good luck in their busy week. And don't forget to slow down and relax a little bit, and maybe hit up that cemetery for a nice little walk or such. But anyways, getting on with it. Just a few things we're going to hit before we get into our conversation here is mymoviemonsters.com. Number 130 is available for pre-order. It is the Monster Memories drive-in issue. Supposed to ship late February, so get on there, get your pre-orders. If you missed it, the pre-orders on there, you could always order it when it comes available, and it will be available at your local bookstore, Barnes & Nobles, or whatever else you have out there. Also, Stupid Comics Magazine. Finally, number 8 has hit the shelves. Well, it's hit the internet shelves. Head over to stupidcomicsmagazine.com. That's STOOPID, comicsmagazine.com. They do have number 8. It's going to be a smaller digest size, which is going to be really cool. So I can't wait to see that. So go over there and support them. All right. For all you guys out there that want more of House of the Unusual, we have our flagship site, houseoftheunusual.com. We have a free forum site on there. Free to join, free to use, all that good stuff. We have tons of cool photos on there, videos. Everybody's always posting some of their favorite collectibles and all that. So, hey, if you want to hear us talk about something on the podcast, that's the place to go over there and comment. And if you even want to be a guest on the podcast and you have something that you really like, you don't have to be an expert or a professional or anything. You just got to be a fan of what you enjoy. If you enjoy comic books or movies or toys or anything like that, and you want to talk about it, drop us a line. So that's the place to do it, houseoftheunusual.com. You could also find this on YouTube. Just search in House of the Unusual. We'll come up there. Eddie and Chuck are always putting in some great videos. So subscribe to the channel, like the videos, leave us a comment, all that good stuff. All right, that's all I got in the way of some advertisements, some little information out there for you guys if you want to pick up some cool stuff. So right now I'm going to turn it over to the one and only Eddie Guevara and see what's new on his end. So Eddie, we're turning it over to you. What's up?
Well, Joe, I'll tell you what, buddy. I've been working a lot. I actually sent your way the package. It should be there probably today, or if not tomorrow at the latest. But you'll be able to start because Go Ship Times is almost available soon. And of course, you will listen to Joe. You will see Joe's review on it when we'll launch, and we're figuring it out how it's going to launch by next week. We'll get you more updated next week of how it's going to happen. Other than that, Joe, everything's been going pretty good, man. I'm actually looking for some opportunities to hit the storage tomorrow. Got to consolidate more stuff, unbox more new finds that I have. I don't know if you recall, Joe, about a week or 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was able to find, or let's go back about a year. I gave Todd a pair of Aqua Specs, which were made by Harold back in the 60s. And they were original, and apparently he had never had or seen that pair that I had. That's the one that comes out in the book Mail Order Mysteries by Kirk Damaris. The one that I used for the book, I actually gave to Todd. Now, the thing that was so interesting about that is that I thought I only had one pair. I'm sorry, 2 pairs, because the one pair I had sold. So I figured once I gave that Todd, I had my last, because I sold one and had one. And then I'm looking through a couple of strange boxes, and lo and behold, another pair appears. And then my oldest daughter tells me that I had 4 because when she was little, she was playing and she reminded me that I told don't play with those. Because I had them in, I had her in the store when I had my magic shop. My oldest daughter was about 5 years old, and I would always take her with me a lot of times. And she used to love, like being in the cash register and stuff. So, that goes to story. So that means that there's a lot of strange, unknown stuff that I still have, things I, I need to discover myself. And I've been looking, Joe. I really have been looking at a lot of people that have collections on the internet and stuff. And one thing that's really surprising me is the amount of stuff that I have, rare stuff that I don't even know about. So it's kind of becoming like a whole new treasure trove for me. Like, where I'm actually going through stuff and opening boxes I haven't opened in probably 15, 20 years. And when I open it up, I'm like, wow, I forgot I had this. I forgot I had this. And it's amazing. It's amazing. It's something that I just didn't think it was going to ever happen to me, where we have so much stuff. And of course, it kept growing and growing. And now it's time to, I think, consolidate and maybe reduce some of the stuff. So that's what I got here, Joe.
Yeah, it's always fun going through the collection. I have a whole um, attic, what they call it, like a third bedroom, that's filled with all my comic stuff, my lot of comic figures and all that. So the whole upstairs and the whole closet and everything upstairs is mostly all my comic stuff. And then in the basement, I have a lot of my books, my horror stuff, other toys and all that. So it's always fun going through, every once in a while and finding new things or seeing stuff that you haven't seen in years and just kind of appreciating it. And there's always something to do. It's no matter how much you do with your collection, how much you try to organize it. There's always more and more organization that needs to happen. Do you find that out with yours as well?
You know what I was going to tell you? I didn't actually, yeah, it's always, no matter how much you have. I mean, I see Chuck. Chuck actually recently acquired with his wife a storage facility. He got a room, I think it's 10 by 20. And I mean, it's working for him because he's doing what I wish I could have done. He's making it look like if it was a magic shop. He's got shelves on both sides, and he's going to be doing his videos from there every week and stuff. So he's setting up shop there. I wish I had two things he had. I wish I had his room full of stuff, and I wish I had the prices he pays. Because in Pittsburgh, it's going to be half the price what I pay here.
Right.
And one thing I'm going to tell you, he's setting it up really nice. He sent me a couple of photographs of like the different items in each side he's taking and staying, and just like getting there. And that's what I had tried to originally do with mine, which I'm still trying, God willing. But the problem is, I'm going to tell you right now, Joe, is that I still have three 10 by 10s and one 15 by 15. And no matter how much I look at it, I don't know how in the world I mean, I'm going to have to like squeeze things in. But then the problem with that is, yeah, I could eliminate one room eventually. I think eventually, and that's the story. Or I can do a whole thing and try to get like a 10 by 30, which is still a 15 by 15 is equivalent to a 10 by 25. So it doesn't look like that would work either. I don't know. I'm just trying to debate whether I should just get another larger one and put the two 10 by 10s into one that's cheaper. But the point I wanted to say to you is, what my goal is to try, especially in the 115 by 15, that I put the rows and rows of shelves to be able to organize something in a way that everything's accessible. Because the problem is, like I said, I do have a big collection, but it would be nice if everything would be accessible and that I can just walk around and say this and that. You know what I'm saying? That's the only problem that I'm having, that I don't have accessibility because I'm overcrowded with too many things. And well, hopefully tomorrow, Thursday, I'm going to make a dent into that, because I'm going to start trying to get rid of furniture I have, like, say a office chair that I've had for years. It's kind of wide. If I get rid of all that, it'll give me a lot of open space. There's a white desk. I wish you were here, Joe. I give it to you. It's those computer desks that you stand up.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
They go up and down. You can put them higher or lower, but it's about 6 foot by, I don't know, 2 feet, 3 feet wide. The problem with that table is it's nice, and you know what? I filled a lot of stuff on top of it. I put it in the toy storage. That's where all the toys up in the wall and all that stuff. The only problem with that particular table though is that when you walk in, it just cuts up that much as you're walking into the room. So I think it's going to go out in the gutter, and I'm just going to have to, because it will free up, I think, more space to walk in. But it's all a matter of organizing, man. You got to spend there a month or two, just like every day, putting a piece here, a piece there. You know what I'm saying? Because it would be crazy to try to move to 10 by 30 or something so that it's longer back. Because I would have to so far I got 21 bookshelves loaded. That would take me at least 2 days just to, bookshelf by bookshelf nonstop. Unless you want to come up here, Joe, maybe you can help me out. What do you think?
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to come up in and see the collection and take a few items.
Yeah, you know what's funny when you're saying that, Joe? That over in my church, I have a guy, right? He's about 36, I think, and I don't know. Oh yeah, I was giving him a 3D printer that I had, and he came over to pick it up. So he literally spent almost 3 hours there, and he asked me, he goes, "Do you mind if I just look?" And he kept looking and looking, and well, he was like a little kid in a. The whole 3 hours, he was like, "I don't know if I want to leave yet." It was kind of funny, because
Yeah, that's it's kind of like even when you go to conventions and all that, you're really seeing a lot of people's collections on display that they're selling. A lot of that stuff is stuff that they grew up collecting or that they've bought over the years. So I've always enjoyed, when you go to collections, you see the different stuff that people have and it's out there on display, and you get to see how they've kept it over the years, how much they've priced it for. Is it in good condition, bad condition? So that's one of the things I've always enjoyed about, going to especially conventions, because you do get the chance to see people's collections up close and personal rather than like on a social media site or through YouTube or something like that.
there is a guy. It's a magic shop. I don't want to really give any information where it's located or anything because apparently the guy passed away about 2 or 3 years ago. Now the guy's very famous in the town. He was a professional magician, whatever, and he had a magic shop. One of our buddies, which deal with us here, actually knows and used to go to the magic shop. And the thing he told me about the shop is that it was so like disorganized. Like you went in there and everything was all over the place. Like the guy would have a box and throw more things and more things on top of it like that. So who the hell knows what treasures are in there. And apparently the family took over and they still haven't even opened it in months. So the thing I think is basically there sitting. And I'm trying to see if I can somehow, I mean, I don't know if it's a good thing, but to get a hold of it because it would be nice to be able to rummage through it and see what you could find, the treasures you could find. Because I mean, when you have who knows, maybe my plants are there. You know what I'm saying? Um, a lot of places, especially in New York and New Jersey, would have old magic shops, and who knows what the heck. Like a good example, and this is kind of I don't even know how to make what to make of this because I have no idea exactly, but Jack, the guy who used to own the Fun House. No, not the Fun Factory. Fun Factory, I got that. I turned that into the House of the Unusual. I'm talking about the Fun House. That was the one that used to carry the money. Or anytime you see an ad in comic books that had the $1 million, it says $1 million in free gold, and it had a money bag, and you would send out and get a free catalog from the Fun House. When that gentleman passed away about 15, 20 years ago, his wife knew nothing, what to do. So I don't really know what happened to his collection because she doesn't know either. So I'm wondering now, this guy that had a mail order company that he sold a lot of the stuff that I grew up with, the 7 foot Frankenstein, stuff like that. And he had it in his Funhouse catalogs. And I'm saying to myself, what in the world happened with all that stuff? And it's so funny that the wife does not know. And I didn't want to like bother her and say, what do you mean you don't know? But it was kind of crazy because she doesn't know anything what happened. She's older. She's like 80. So the whole thing is that, yeah, you have a lot of those treasures, man. And Joe, let's be honest. Wouldn't you love to go to a store that used to sell Aurora Monsters in the 70s and hasn't been open in 20, 30 years?
Oh yeah, that'd be cool to find any type of store like that,
The
and
problem is
just to
there is
see what they had. Gosh, there'd probably be so many cool stuff. Some monster kits, comic books, magazines, books. Gosh, yeah, that would be. Unfortunately, I don't know of any around where I'm at, but yeah, that would be cool.
Well, you know what's crazy about what you just said? The problem about it is not just that it's cool. A lot of times it's like it happened in this one that I told you. The guy or the owner, whoever it is, sells the stuff for the prices he had 20 years ago. Like, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times you go, there is one shop by my house, and I think I've sent you stuff from there, Joe, I think, and I think you've seen it, that it's been in business since 1971. It's still in business today. But they have a whole section in there that's filled with novelties and jokes, and they've been there from the 80s. And the guy still has the prizes from the 80s. So when you go buy their, say, electric shocking book, for example, today they're impossible to get. They go for 100 and some dollars on eBay. You might, if he had one right there, you probably get it for $10. You know. And the reason I'm saying that is because I did. I bought things in there that were crazy. I mean, they had a thing there called from Franco America. It's called the Vampire Repellent. In reality, what it was is a stink bomb, but inside it kind of, because anybody who's familiar with the stink bomb and are familiar with the perfume called Morning Breeze, which in reality is just the same stink bomb but in a little perfume vial. What the vampire repellent is the same thing. It was a spray bottle, but it had the stink bomb inside, and you would spray it. But these bottles were so old. I mean, the box was immaculate, like right out of the shelf. But the bottles were so old inside that the perfume had evaporated. Think of that. That's how old those things are. And I came across, and it was so funny because they were selling them for I think $4.95 each. And I told the owner, "Hey, you got about 6 or 7 here, but they're all half gone. How much you want?" He says, "Oh, you want them? Have them." He gave them to me for free.
Oh,
All
nice.
all 7 or 8 of them, whatever it was. And I figure I'm going to take it because all you got to do is you can actually refill it with a stink bomb. You can fill, they're in great condition, and you can actually just put the. I mean, I don't know, Joe. Can I send them to you?
And what year were those from?
The early '80s, late
Okay.
'70s, early '80s. I got a question. If I send them to you, can you put the stink bomb into them? I don't want to get my house smelly.
Yeah.
You
I'll
know.
make sure to do it right around my wife so she could help with it. Now send it over to Chuck and Sherry. They could do it.
The one I remember that one of the things is the stink bombs. I used to sell them so much, and I remember in my magic shop I had people complaining, the people businesses next door and stuff, that the kids were going around and tossing them all over the place.
Uh,
And
yeah, those used to I remember them back in the 80s and early 90s. Those used to be huge. People would break those because they were the ones that were the kind of glass capsules. So people would break those. They would be all over the place. Skating rings, the mall, sporting events inside. You'd have stink bombs going off all the time.
yeah, that was so funny. I remember they did it one time.
Now if kids did that, they'd probably be thrown in jail for it.
Oh yeah, of course, definitely. But I remember in my class, and I don't know if it was not the gym class. I think it was my science biology class. Somebody threw one on the floor, and we had to actually walk out of the room for a couple of minutes. It was kind of funny though,
Yeah, I
because
remember kids doing them in school too, school and in church. They all over the place. They were everywhere.
that was funny. They did it one time, Joe, in a crowded New York City subway. And you know what's so funny about that? You can't leave the train once it's moving, and everybody's standing next to each other like there's no space to move. And they
Oh, that
threw
would
one
be
in.
horrible.
Oh my gosh, you had to like whiff that for like 20 minutes, just absorb the entire smell. But you know what, Joe? Talking about stuff like that, I did a review recently, and you know what I'm talking about, though, because I believe Sky sent you one as well from Stupid Comics. Did you see what a marvelous job he did in that flyer? It's a
Oh yeah, that was fantastic. Yeah. It was the Blue Ghost. Was it the
That's
blue?
right.
Yeah, the blue ghost.
Did you open up your Blue Ghost?
Yeah, I tried it out on the wife, and she couldn't capture the ghost.
Really? I haven't opened mine actually, but the thing is, I liked it so much that I actually had them send me 20 of them. I mean, 20 packets completely. They're beautiful, man. I mean, to me, honestly, he killed it with that because even the artwork on it's so retro. It's like to me, it reminds me of when I was a kid. I think he captured that better than I ever could. Joe, this is very important. A lot of times people say, well, I'm a graphic artist, and I've said this many times. Oh, I'm a writer. Well, unless you know how to capture mail order, you're not good for the house of the unusual. And what I mean by that is that, like Sky, for example, Sky can do, even though, I forgot his actual age, but he can do everything and capture the time period 100%. And you could see it with that blue ghost he has, and most important, the flyer he made with the individual characters in the flyer, the way the cartoons are portrayed, But the best part about it is, he captured that 100%. Same thing with Cavaraj down in California. He knows how to capture the thing perfectly, and that's a gift, especially when you deal with mail order novelties and stuff, because that's what either will make or break you. And Joe, one thing I wanted to tell you, and I think we said that last week, is that, and this is very important, there is a big growing trend of mail order companies bursting all over the place. And when I'm saying, I'm talking about magic shops and stuff. If you go on eBay, I think eBay has about 40 something or 50 different magic shops. One is called the Fun Shop, everything. And they're selling a lot of those novelties. And I forget who it was asked me, or maybe it was Craig Tobek, the guy from Johnson Smith, that he said to me, are they still prevalent? And I'm like, yeah, there's a big surge lately of novelties again. Have you noticed that, Joe, on your side?
No, I haven't noticed it on my side, because mostly if I'm looking at stuff online, it's a lot with, classic horror or sci-fi or anything like that. But I haven't, I wouldn't be on, I guess, those sites or forums or anything to talk about mail order. But what have you seen in the realms of mail order that's making you think that it's becoming, a lot bigger? And I know everything goes in cycles. Same with sports cards, comic books. Records are going through their cycle now. They're coming big. Uh, VHS tapes are coming around. They're becoming big now. So everything goes in cycles. So what you're telling me, it looks like mail order is starting to come back around. But what makes you think that or what's out there that's showing you that mail order is becoming more prevalent in people's, I guess, everyday life or online life?
Well, I started doing a research on my little brother, not my little, my older brother, should I say, in Europe, from Grand Illusions. I always say my brother because he's actually like me, except he's probably 20 years older than me. But the gentleman has been collecting for years and years, and he has a channel that has millions of subscribers, actually. It's not a small channel, he has a lot of people. And one of the things that I noticed is, as I was looking through his channel, somebody sent me an invite from one of the Facebook forums. I forgot it was called Classical Magic or something like that in Europe. And when I said yes, I took the invite. I became a member, and then I got flooded by different people that had different groups of both Universal Monsters and magic. And the thing that impressed me the most is the amount of magic that was involved in Europe. And then I kind of did a search, and I'm like, every time I heard, and this has been a very common thing that I've heard from not just once, I've heard it about 3 or 4 times throughout the years, that people say, hey, I wish we lived in the United States because you guys had all the cool stuff. Now, I think what they're saying with that is, and they mean it, is the fact that I don't know if Europe they ever saw like the 7 foot Frankenstein or Boney the Skeleton or the submarine. I think those were like the United States items that probably made mail order more famous here than there because of the classics, that we had. They didn't have the fun stuff, meaning that stuff, but they did have a company called Elliston, I think it is, which is similar to Johnson Smith, but it was big in Europe and sold all the magic and novelties and jokes and stuff. And when I did the search, I was shocked how many magic shops and joke shops are in Europe right now. If you go to the UK, I mean, there's one particular business in the UK, Joe. Their window is packed with jokes. Like their window's got to be like, let's say, 40 feet wide by 20 feet high, and it's packed with magic and jokes on it. Like you look at it, the guy's standing by the doorway, and you're like, what? And I was shocked because it looks like it's big over there. Now, the other thing that made me realize is on eBay, again, eBay, Amazon has one. There's one called the Joke Shop. There's one called the Fun Palace. There's quite a few. And one of the things that shocked me is because because you sell on eBay, Joe, you know what I'm talking about. When you have a product and you have more than one, it says how many units sold. Well, we're talking about this guy. When I looked at his Joy Buzzer thing, right? It said, I think if I remember, 176 pieces sold or units. Then you went to the shocking pen, 240. you know, and that's shocking, Joe, because you wouldn't think. And now this guy has, I believe, 32,000 feedbacks. So
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
it's selling. He's actually probably making a living off that 100%. And now let me give you a quick rundown here, Joe. Back in the 70s and 80s, before before eBay or the internet, well, when you had an item, and this is something we discussed in previous shows, is when you had an item, you would run an ad. Now, in Popular Science, the average cost was about $15 to $16 a word. If you use magazines like, Cosmopolitan or things like that, not Cosmopolitan because you wouldn't run anything there unless you were selling stuff for women. But yeah, Better Homes and Garden with an 8 million circulation, they used to cost $49.17 a word, and the minimum was like 12 words. So you had to run a $500, $600, $700 ad, or in Popular Science, I would run an ad and it usually would run back to about $175 for a 10-word classified. And the thing with it is when you put an ad, either that or in comic books, it would take 3 months. Like when me and Craig Taubeck, I'm sorry, me and Lou Wise ran the Fun Factory ad back in the day in 1993. We ran it for the January issue that, or actually was the issue that went on sale January, which was actually the December issue, and we had to run the ad like late August, no later like August 22nd. Then we had to wait till January for the ad to come out, and then that's when the orders start pouring in a week or two later. It took a long time, so most people couldn't afford to go ahead and start doing a mail order business because you needed basically a couple of $1,000s up front, run enough ads over time so that you could start making money and break even. And then you start making money 6, 7 months after the initial investment. Today, with the dawning of the internet, where you can run free ads in forums, you can go to Universal Monster Army and say, I'm selling something. You can go on Facebook Live. You can do so many things. If you set up any type of shop today, you're in business within 24 hours. Well, sometimes within an hour, you'll list an item and sell it right on the spot. So that opened up the avenue for hundreds of people that had ideas, or even people my age or younger that say, hey, we're going to sell novelties. I love jokes. I love tricks. I love magic. And they've set up their own shop. And believe it or not, most of them are successful, which is bizarre. Like there's one particular guy that I haven't seen him. I forgot the name of his shop, but he was one of like the pioneers of the novelty business. When I mean pioneer, not pioneer in me, from the 70s, but when eBay was around, this gentleman, I don't know how old he is either, he would run ads. But I thought it was kind of funny though, because when you looked at his feedback, he had like, let's say, 3,000 or 4,000 feedbacks, and he'll have like a 94 point something percent feedback, right? And when you would look at it, it would have like 20, 30 negatives. And it was kind of funny though, because his negatives were like, hey, I got this joy buzzer, it didn't work. What a piece of junk, And his response was, "Hey, buddy, look, read the thing." Like he was pretty rough in his response. I used to actually laugh at the way how mad he would get with the people and respond to them. I guess he's still in business. I don't know, but he was one of the first. And kind of by looking at that, Joe, I looked at it and I said to myself, you know what? The only thing I don't really like about that, like doing or selling novelties on eBay, was that anybody who buys an electric shocking pan, especially if you get the ones made in China and stuff like that, unless, like back in the day in the 70s, the wholesale price of a shocking pen was $10.50. Check that out. So you had to sell them for like $24.95. They were very expensive. And but the difference was the shocking lighter was probably the only one of the shocking devices that was worth anything, because the shocking lighter, the deluxe shocking lighter that was sold by Loftus Novelties, you would get it, you drop it 2 or 3 times, and you'd be okay. It will still work. The book, you drop the book one time, it will get dings all over the cover. It had, especially the Franco-American novelty one. There was 2 titles. One I think was the world's best jokes, and the other one nude, something about nude or love and marriage. It had like 2 or 3. I think it was 3 titles actually. I mean, I have them somewhere, but the point is, Joe, you opened that book, pop, you dropped it, and that was it. It stopped working. The second time around, you're lucky. Maybe sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't. The pen would shock you, and it would really not work, and it was super thick. And then, of course, they did make. I think one of the things I'm going to say about Loftus Novelties is Loftus Novelties. They redid the joy buzzer, where when you wound it up, the mechanism would not break. So the joy buzzer Loftus Novelties sells is actually a phenomenal joy buzzer with many, many hours of use. I give them a 10 star on the joy buzzer because it's phenomenal. And with the electric shocking lighter that they make, it's great, including a pen. They actually have a small silver pen. Um, it works really good. And a lot of times I see those pens being sold in, uh, oh gosh, what is the name? When you go into the malls, there's a store there that sells a lot of like novelties and stuff
Oh,
like that.
like Spencer's.
Yeah, Spencer's, that's correct. Spencer sells it, and you know what? They're really good. They work fabulous. They'll cost you, I don't know, $8, $10, whatever. But the whole thing I'm trying to say is they're made better. So my thought was, if you're going to sell on eBay an item that because like I said, very few joke items, except some of the classics that were well done, are very cheap, and it's more like what sells the item is the idea behind the advertisement for it. The way they draw the character. Like for example, you'll look, hey, squirting toilet. You think it's fabulous. Wow, look at that. It's going to squirt somebody in the butt. But in reality, I don't think too many people have been successful with the squirting toilet, because when you attach it to your bowl and anybody's going to sit there, is going to see a little thing coming out of the thing, the top. So it's not really a great joke. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the fact when you advertised it was fantastic. That's just like one time they had a joke that came out. I don't know how well that would do today, but it was produced by a company called Amscam. Amscam does all that, AMSCAM, something like that. They do all the Halloween products, and I think they're still around. So Amscam came out with in the 80s with a thing called the Grab It cushion, and it's supposed to be a cushion. You put it on a chair. When somebody sits, a hand would pop between their legs, and you would say, hey, that's what a joke. I remember I fell for that right away. And when I actually ordered a couple from the factory, I was surprised. What it really was a cushion that you inflated, and inside the cushion on one side had a rubber glove. I'm talking about the gloves that you do dishes with, and it was a big yellow or blue glove, whatever it was. And the cushion came like in light, a really fluorescent blue or red, which anybody that saw it would not sit on it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And when you sat on the cushion, half the time the glove would come out, but it wouldn't do anything. It would just get stuck underneath your legs. It's not like because when you look at the cartoon, it's showing I think it's a guy sitting down, or no, a lady or something, and then she's screaming up in the air, and the hand is coming out. So You thought, what a joke. That's super funny. It was a piece of garbage. It didn't actually, I don't even think it even made it to the shelves. It sold a few times and that was it. So that's the point I'm trying to say. So my fear, and the reason I told this whole story about, how good and bad novelties were, is that my fear was that if on eBay, like when I saw this guy where he had a 94% feedback rating, you're like, wait a minute, if I want to have 100%, you can't do it selling products that are pieces of junk. So because of that, I kind of was hesitant to do it, and I actually didn't. But what really was throwing me back is that this guy that I told you about, this one company that he said he's got like 200 sold, 100 of this of units. Well, he's got 100% out of 32,000 feedbacks. I don't know how in the world you accomplish that, but he's got it, and for him, it's thriving. So I guess, and I looked at it, it doesn't say much, but I guess he's cheap enough or whatever it is that people that are buying are not really giving him a negative feedback. And I found that very, very interesting. And like I said, it wasn't just him, it was this. I counted about 46 companies. One is called the Court Jester, which I believe the Court Jester, believe it or not, was a mail order company back in the 80s. So I think they just assumed their life over to eBay. But they have them in. If you put up, jokes in Amazon, 100 of them pop out. If you put Joy Buster, so they're definitely selling. Back in the 70s, you only had magazines and comic books where you could buy that stuff. Some people were lucky. Some people like Chuck had novelty shops around their house that would sell SS Adams products and stuff. But I got to be honest with you, where I lived in New York, even in New Jersey here, I don't think SS Adams came into Toys R Us until like the pretty late 80s or mid 90s, that they had a rack inside Toys R Us that sold novelties. To this very day, how many shops have you entered, Joe, that actually sells X-ray glasses? Even toy stores. You
That
ever
I have seen none.
You see what I'm saying? So, yet everybody. So there's certain things that were still only available in mail order, and that's something that threw me back. And but then again, probably the success of the glasses wouldn't have happened if it was sold in stores because kids would know what it does. And I guess that the reason they were so successful by keeping it strictly mail order is that it let you imagine what it would do, and you really didn't know until you send your money for them. But there's certain products that, like I say, even to this day, yeah, this shop sells the X-ray glasses, but that's the only one that I know of. The one that I told has been in business in 1971. They're in the Union City area, but I was talking to Dr. Saab the other day, and we were on the phone for about 2 hours about how there's so many shops out there. We were talking because he was asking how prevalent do I think the mail order is, and that's where I started after I got off with him. I started doing some research, and I'm very surprised. Now, when I say mail order, of course, mail order is anything you make a place an order for, and it gets delivered to you by the mail. That's basically the standard thing of what it is. Most people are used to saying when you say mail order, they're thinking about the ads from the comic books. But mail order is what Amazon does. That's bigger today than ever before. But other than that, Joe, I wanted to, not changing the subject now, but we're going to change a little bit now. With the monster movies and stuff like that, Joe, I've come across the other day somebody in my job was moving out, and they gave the security officer about 20 something video DVDs, and
Oh
they are
wow.
all of like the Blob, the Vampire, all this stuff. They're like old films. He gave them to me. They're pretty nice, man. I thought about you when I got them. They're really good. They're a lot of the movies that we're always watching and stuff. But one question I wanted to ask you: did you ever come across a copy of the Airplane? Not Airplane, the movie we were talked about. Remember, what was it? The flight that disappeared or the flight gone missing?
Yeah, no, I never came across a copy of it. I don't know if I think it's public domain, so I don't believe anybody's ever put a DVD out for it or even a VHS that I know of.
Which is really odd, 'cause that was such a good movie, man. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't bad at all. In fact, that's the first movie I think we all agreed that was good. Remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was a good movie, and yeah, I've never seen it. I don't even think I've ever seen it referenced in a magazine or book or anything like that. That's how kind of obscure it is, I guess.
And yet it's a fabulous movie. Now let me ask you a question, Joe. When you're saying magazines and stuff, I've come across one thing in my storage, and perhaps you can elaborate a little bit on this because listeners, every time you actually mention that, a lot of people are like tuned into it. But I've come across about 3 or 4 books, and and this is kind of funny to say because it has a swampy smell, you know, but and when I say like a swamp type, that kind of like moisture in it, but at the same time, it smelled good. You follow what I'm trying to say? Like it's perfect. You know what I mean? Not the smell that you go like, oh my gosh, this moldy smell. I got to get rid of it. It had a smell that was just enough that I liked it. And I was like, my wife goes, that's disgusting. I go, honey, if you smell it, it smells like perfect. It reminds me of the stuff, from that time. Um, Elaborate a little bit on that, man, and how you can get rid of that because you're experienced in that, Joe.
On getting rid of the like the moldy smell.
Yeah, like I mean, what's your opinion on that, and how can you store? I mean, I told you the experience I had. I had a closet, and right across my closet in my old apartment, I had like I don't know 500 comic books on the top shelf, and I had them all boarded, and I had them with the plastic, and I kind of was shocked. And now here's the funny thing, though. It was about 2 feet to the left. So when you went down the hallway, the closet would come, then you walk another 2 feet, and the bathroom would be on the right hand side, one of the bathrooms. Now, what really blew me away, Joe, is the fact that the bathroom, you take a shower, hot shower, whatever. Anyway, the closet door is closed and everything. And I was shocked to see that there were about 3 or 4 or 5 comics that actually had moisture inside the plastic. And it blew me away. I took them all out of there, and I'm like, wow, what the heck? What do you think caused that? And is it a good way to keep your comic books like that, Joe?
Well, I mean, I don't know what could have caused it. There could be, a lot of different issues with the humidity in the house, but you always want to keep your, especially your comics in a bagged and board, mostly in a room that's low humidity, that's a little bit cooler. Some people keep them in the basement. Usually basements are warmer with, a lot of humidity. A lot of like moisture will come in through the foundation block. So you want to stay kind of away from the basement unless you have a good waterproof basement and a good dehumidifier down there. As for like taking out the kind of like that moldy smell from books or comic books, you could lay them open in front of a dehumidifier. That'll pull some of the moldy smell out. You won't get all of it out, but you will get some. You'll constantly have to, turn the pages and all that. So it's a lengthy process. Or you could also put it in a kind of like an airtight Tupperware bin with some baking soda, and that's the same thing. You have to constantly, turn the pages. Not every page, every couple pages, but it won't fully take the smell out, but it'll take definitely a good portion of it out.
Yeah, that's a little more hard to do, I think, than anything. When you say baking soda, you got to put baking soda on the pages or
No, you just a
an open
you know,
box.
yeah, an open box, like how people used to do in their refrigerator. Yeah, just keep the open box in there, and put the comic book inside there, make sure it's airtight, and just let it sit. You could also, do a combination of that with the dehumidifier. And like I said, it won't take everything out, but because I don't really know of any process that can 100% take it out, but it'll take a good portion of the that moldy smell out.
A good portion of it, I see. Joe, you have any ideas in your side concerning any movies you like to tell our viewers? Any upcoming films you like us to watch?
I haven't really had the chance to really watch or do anything over the last couple weeks. I've had a lot uh going on and trying to do some different things and all that, and um, I'm doing a class now studying for a tobacconist, so I could get a certified retail tobacconist. So that's been taking up a lot of my time. I haven't been able to really do too much movie watching. Sometimes I'll put it on in the background while I might be reading or
What,
looking
what
over a magazine or something. But as for movies, I think the last one I watched was The Tingler, which was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I know we talked about, and I was kind of disappointed with that movie, but I may give it another chance.
the reason I asked you that because you know what movie I watched yesterday? The Old Dark House. That's why I was telling
Oh, really?
you. That's
That's
why.
always a good one to watch.
Yeah, it was kind of waiting. You know what? I just like what I like about that movie is one, it has obviously Boris Karloff in it. But the thing about the movie is that one is in the public domain, so anybody can just take the darn movie and reproduce their copy and sell it, whatever. But I just like the fact the part where the lady's at the door and the hand is coming by the side. And I think I told the story to you one time, and I don't know if I said it in one of the podcasts, but I was on Etsy one time, and a lady emailed me because she saw that I was selling the giant size poster, and she emailed me and she said, "Can you see if you can blow up this photograph for me?" So I blew up that photograph with the hand behind. I think I blew it up to like 40 by 60. It was
Oh,
huge.
jeez.
Let me tell you, no kidding aside, when I saw it, I actually said, "Wow, I want one," and I actually made a copy for myself. Joe, when you have that, you look at it in a big giant frame, it throws you back like, "Wow, that looks nice." And that's what I like about that movie, The Old Dark House. Overall, even the setting for the house, it looks nice. It's got, if you look at some of the posters, the artwork is really good on it. That's why I brought it up because I was watching. I also yesterday watched U.S. Marshals. I didn't realize how good that movie was. I don't think I watched it before with Wesley Snipes and what's this guy that did Man in Black? That he plays?
Oh, Will Smith,
No, not Will Smith. The other guy.
Tommy
Yeah,
Lee Jones.
yeah, Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones is the marshal, and Wesley Snipes is like a marshal, supposedly that went rogue. But they thought he had committed. They actually set him up, and it was. Let me tell you, the movie was long. Excuse me, the movie was long, but I got to tell you though, it was really good, man. I actually stayed, and then right after that, but I needed to get a couple hours of sleep before I went back to work. True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger was starting, and that's another really good film. One thing I got to tell you about when you're watching films and stuff, Arnold, you know, his acts, but Arnold did some pretty good films, man. Because I mean, Predator was good. I think the only film of Arnold that I didn't kind of like is the one that he did recently. That he's a sheriff. He's like really old. He's like 80 something years old. The thing.
I don't think I know. I haven't seen that one.
That's the one that he did about 5 or 6 years ago, and he's like a sheriff in town, but they kind of push him around a little bit. It wasn't him. I mean, it's not the film that I'm. It's one of his last films he's done. Because we got to admit though he's super old right now.
Oh, yeah.
But the last film I think he was on that you could say that he was okay in was The Expendables. But prior to that though, you got to admit though in the '80s and stuff, he did a lot of good films. Total Recall, which is that I don't know if that's Total Recall, the one that they make another of him, like they make a duplicate of him. What do you call that? A clone of him. Do you remember that movie?
A
Where
clone of him,
yeah,
huh?
yeah,
No.
he's going home to see his wife and daughter, and somehow they clone him, and he has to try to come back. It's a good film. It's a really was it Total Recall? No, I don't know if it's Total Recall or what it is, but anyway, I forgot the name. But I tell you though, U.S. Marshal was really good. And then right after that, I only had so much time, and then obviously I went to work. And guess what? That's when I saw The Old Dark House.
Always a good movie to watch.
Yeah, but I gotta tell you that airplane one. I'm gonna try to see if I can get a copy and make burn my own CD or something on a DVD because I mean, that's a good film. I'm very surprised that that film has not really been more. What was it called? The Flight That Disappeared, or the?
I was trying to think of it. I can't remember if it was. Let me see if I could maybe find it. The Flight That Disappeared.
Yeah, it was kind of like I forgot the. But
Yeah, the flight that disappeared from 1961.
The Flight That Disappeared. Yeah, that you know, like I said, that's a. I mean, you liked it, Sherry liked it, Chuck liked it, I liked it, and it was kind of funny because everybody that watched it, we sometimes sometimes you'll say this movie's good and I won't like it, and for some reason you and my friend Jim tend to gravitate to the same likes. Me and Chuck gravitate to our likes because every time you say something, Jim follows through on you, and I'm like, why do you guys have that taste? Because I remember that me and Chuck thought The Day the Earth Stood Still was like the best film ever, and you picked, I think, the Forbidden Planet or something like that. Do you remember that when we had that discussion of the five best films?
I do remember the discussion. I can't remember what film I had down there though. That's
I
my
know
note.
your number one was definitely not the same as me and Chuck. You and
No, it was different. I can't remember what it was. Were we doing like a sci-fi list or an all-time list?
Well, no, I think we were doing a sci-fi best list or something like that. But you know what? A good topic would be for next week, Joe. Would be, I mean, I don't know if next week or the following week, which is the best time for you, depending how busy you'll be. But it would be a good idea to pick the five most obscure movies that are good that probably never made it, but that they're like super good. Now, do you think that'll be a good topic?
Yeah, we could definitely do that next week, and
Yeah.
hopefully we'll have Chuck and Sherry back on next week, and they could discuss some of those movies too. Because I tell you what, there's some really obscure ones out there that are good, and I know that there's some that I've seen over the decades. I probably seen one time, and I can't remember anymore. But yeah, that'll be something good to dig into and try to research and remember some of those older movies.
Well, we should do that next week. And I'll tell you one of the things is like again, The Flight That Disappeared would be one of them. That's a movie like you said. I've never seen it being reviewed. And look, the movie is like really good. Like you can watch it once, two or three times, and you're okay with it. Um,
Yeah, I was just looking online now. I'm not seeing anywhere that is selling it. Yeah, and it did come out in 1961 by it was produced through Harvard Film Corporation and distributed by United Artists. So, but I'm guessing that it's public domain, and it is a obscure type movie. So no one's really put it on DVD or that I could find or that I know of.
and the question again comes back when it's something like that and they don't put it on DVD. I wonder how the hell they got that perfect copy that we saw on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. Someone had to have had it from somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying because that looks. I mean, that's a really good copy. Like when you're watching, it feels like it's one of those remastered black and whites. Um, and talking about that, Joe, my book, I don't know what to think about it. I don't know what to think about the London After Midnight book that I ordered. It's saying it's going to come between the 28th, before it was between the 15th and 22nd of February. Now it's giving me the date between February 28th and March 10th. Um, what are you feeling
Yeah,
so?
I would definitely get a hold of them and see what's going on.
Well, I can't. Last night I was going to cancel and get a refund, and it tells me I'm not eligible yet until the date expires.
Okay.
But here's my question, though. I'm not eligible. I was going to say, well, you guys changed the date on me. How the heck is that even possible?
Yeah.
But but then one thing that I don't understand though is because it does say the person shipped it. But now I don't understand if that's just because they printed a shipping label because it doesn't say much information. Now the book is 464 pages, so it's probably pretty big. I mean, I'm anxious to get it. I would really like to get it, but I'm beginning to feel that. It's on the way of me trying to get the robot plants. It's not going my way,
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that might be a loss for a little while trying to get that book. Hopefully, because I definitely want I want to copy it, so I would love to see the book, and especially like we've talked about it last two podcasts, touched a little bit on it, the different steel frames in it. So hopefully, eventually, it'll be up for pre-order, or will be up to ship. You were able to order it, so hopefully they could find someone to fix out the binding issues they had there with the company they were using and get it back out.
All right, Joe, I have an important question for you, and I want you to give me your heart's the true feeling on this. What would you do right now? What would be your next plan of action if you were searching for the robot plans today? After all the searching years that I've gone and I've gone, what would be your plan of action? Say that you were starting a new search. What would you do to find it?
I don't know. I'd maybe try to
I've
put
tried.
it out there on like maybe a news channel or something. I don't know. Is that even possible to do? Is to get on
Well,
a news channel and say, hey, I've been searching for this for years. There's none known to exist.
I don't know if that would be possible for a news channel, but I know I put it out in Universal Monster Army. I put it out. There's a company called Robot Hut or something like that. That not a company. Some guy who's a big fanatic of robots. And he's probably got a huge store, and he's got a life-size Robbie, life-size B9, which is the Lost in Space robot. He's got a Gort from the Day the Earth, all life-size models, and he's got like 5,000 robots.
Oh
And
wow.
he goes under the Robot Hut, whatever. He doesn't know. He sent me one time. He goes, maybe it's this one. He sent me the same one I have. In fact, this guy has so much rare stuff that he had one of the original Houdini newspapers that had, the robot that we try to not give away, but we were running what was it? The thing we ran on what did we do with that robot? Oh my God, I can't get the
Oh, the
word.
Houdini one.
Yeah. What
Oh,
were we?
I couldn't get mine together. We were running a contest for
Yeah,
the
well,
poster.
I couldn't get the word contest
God,
out.
I couldn't even finish mine. It was so hard. Chuck finished his though.
Yeah, but Chuck did it wrong. It was, you know what? I actually improved on that because I actually got a photograph of the two originals somebody built so that you can see where the parts go. That's the only problem with that. But this guy in Robot Hut actually has an original newspaper from 1912. So the point is that he doesn't have the plans I'm talking about. So I don't. I asked you that because in reality, I was thinking last night, and I'm like, I wonder what are the avenues are available for me. Because I mean, I put it on the podcast. I put it on Universal Monster Army for years. Over 20 years, it's been there. I keep reposting it. I've put it on eBay. I've had people say to me they bought it when they were young. In fact, I had a guy who I was using the same artwork and he wanted a refund when I sent him the other ones because he goes, "This are not the ones I had him as a kid." So instead of this bubblehead waiting out, and I would have given it to him for free and give him the refund if he would have called me some information. He kind of pissed me off the way he responded, so I lost contact with him. But
I mean, there's tons of different ways out there. I just don't know how we go about getting it, especially like on the news or something. But we'll have to discuss that next time, or even on the forum, because we're down to the last couple seconds here. So I'm going to wrap it up. I want to thank everybody out there in podcast land for joining us once again. We are here every week for you guys. New episode drops every Thursday night. So find us on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe to our
that's
podcast.
Wednesday night, Joe. Wednesday nights.
Wednesday nights going into Thursday morning. We're out. Find us on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe to us. Give us a good review if you so choose, and also make sure you check us out on YouTube, House of the Unusual. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the videos, comment if you need to. And you can always find us on houseoftheunusual.com. So, Eddie, that's all we got for today. So, thank you for stopping out and great conversation on some collecting and mail order. And hopefully next week, our good friends Chuck and Sherry will be able to join us too. And who knows who else will be stopping by at that time. So, until then, good night.
Good night. God bless. Take care. Bye.